y'all, it's Stephie and welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to share some of my tips for how I stay productive when I work from home and how I manage projects and teams remotely. So it's March 15th, 2020. So hopefully many of y'all are either already working from home or will be working from home in the very near future. So let me first say that I hope that y'all stay safe and that y'all stay healthy as well as your families. Outside of the pandemic, I do work from home once a week at least, on a regular basis, and there are times when I do perform a remote audit, so I may be working from home for a week so that I can be on, European time. All that to say is hopefully these tips will be helpful for y'all during this time, and maybe you can use some of these tips in the future if you get to work from home more regularly. So let's first talk about the mindset for when you're working from home. Working from home is such an awesome privilege to have. I just wanted to remind you guys so you can be grateful that you have the opportunity to work from home. Not everyone does, and not everyone is able to make a living while working from home. Some people rely on being at a particular location to be able to work. So definitely keep that in mind. You really should have the same amount of self-discipline, same or better self-discipline as you would if you were in the office. You really have to have integrity when you're working from home. Yes, since you're home, maybe you can take a break and start a load of laundry, or, during lunchtime, you can watch one of your shows while you eat and, wash your dishes or whatever it is, but you have to have integrity. Your employer is relying on you and trusting you. Put in the minimum required amount of time for work. That could be 8 hours for those of y'all who are currently doing public accounting. And if you're in the middle of busy season, maybe the expectation is 60 hours of work a week. So whatever the expectation is from your employer, definitely make sure you meet that at a minimum, if not more, if that's what it takes for you to get your work done. Currently, with what's going on all over the world with the pandemic, many of us who are in the same profession as me are able to work from home. This is the time for you to prove that this work from home model actually works. I know a lot of you guys see that I work from home regularly, and I've had a few of you guys say you wish you could do the same thing, and maybe this is the time for us to prove to people same level of quality, if not better, than you would in the office. It is scary times right now, but there is a silver lining that potentially maybe this is our opportunity to change the mindsets of people who maybe don't believe in working from home, that if you're not in the office, then you're not working. This is our time to prove that, this works and it's productive and efficient. Maybe this is the way to start getting this into your regular work routine after things go back to normal. Maybe y'all are newer to my channel, but I give friendly sisterly advice, so it might be a little TMI, some of these things, but you know what? That's how it is here, so hopefully you will not be bothered by TMI. I like to ensure that I still get ready for the day. It puts me into the mindset that, I'm going to work. It's a different day than just my day off. I'm not saying that you have to, do your hair, put on makeup. I'm not saying get dressed up as if you're going to work, but do a little extra so that it doesn't feel just like your regular day off. Putting something else on other than what you wore to bed. I'm not typically wearing a blouse whenever I'm working from home. I just dressed up for y'all. I'm usually in a t-shirt and sweats, different from what I wore to bed. Another thing for me at least is I put on my bra. Okay, so I don't know about y'all, but they're not the most comfortable things to wear. So like the first thing that happens when I come home from work, the bra comes off. That signals, I'm done for the day. When you've got your bra on, you're gonna tackle the day and you're gonna get some shit done. Put your bra on, okay? Okay, let's move on, because I know not just ladies are watching this video, but y'all know what I'm saying. Men, put on deodorant, do what you gotta do, okay? Secondly, I like to set a schedule for myself. Now, obviously, there's gonna be some flexibility here, and I'm not saying, okay, I'm gonna start at 9, I'm gonna end at 5. The nice thing about working from home is that there is flexibility, but it's important to get in your minimum number of hours in the workday while you're working from home and actually doing work. So, if you're required minimum 8 hours, then make sure you actually get 8 hours of work done, not just 8 hours of sitting in front of your computer, but you're watching YouTube or shopping, just like you would, in the office. For most professionals, that's a given, obviously, but I did want to mention that. When I perform a remote audit, I will typically be working earlier in the morning. So for example, I start at 5 in the morning, my 8 hours is up, I don't know, around 2 p.m. depending on if I took a break or not. And I typically work past that anyways, not during this time obviously because I'm not going nowhere, but let's say that, you know, on a typical regular run-of-the-mill time, if I went to the gym during lunchtime, I need to make up that time that I was away later on in the day. I also have a difficulty with shutting myself off from work because I tend to just continue working just like you would if you were in the office, you know, getting to a stopping point. Like I said, there has to be flexibility there. If you're in the middle of a deadline and you really need to get some stuff done and maybe you might be working more one day and then maybe that means working less another day, it just really depends on the expectations of your employer and of your manager. Another thing, whether I'm in the office or here at the house, is that I try to limit distractions. So meaning that as much as it's nice to have, you know, Netflix playing in the background just as like kind of white noise, keeping it to a minimum where it's not distracting you from focusing on work. So I probably wouldn't recommend Netflix right now. Obviously, whenever I get a notification that there's a briefing from the White House, then I put that on and I have it going in the background as I'm doing work as well. Sometimes I like just peace and quiet, and sometimes I like having a little bit of background noise. So typically if I'm working with a bunch of numbers and I'm not like writing out something, I like to have, you know, music on in the background. I might have a podcast or an audio book. Mainly it's for those times when I'm doing something tedious that doesn't require me really thinking hard into something. But if it's something like where I'm writing a memo or writing a report or writing an email, typically we'll either not have any music going or I'll have some kind of instrumental music going like classical music. We'll have to find what works best for you, but try as much as you can to limit distractions. That's kind of one of the harder things when you're working from home, is having that self-discipline, and it may take some trial and error. As best as you can, limit distractions for the majority of the day. Obviously, we all take breaks, so take a break if you need a break. What really helps me stay on task is having my to-do list. So I have my cloth and paper planner here in front of me, and this is where I keep my to-do list, my Outlook calendar, where I actually have events and stuff like that. But more task related things, I like to write them down. There's something very satisfying about writing it down and then marking it off as done. I use highlighters, and I use a gray highlighter because I'm very particular about colors. If you aren't able to finish something one day, you have a running record of what you need to get done. I'm not going to go into too much detail about how I do my to-do list or how I plan things. If you want a video on that, let me know in the comments below. I'd be happy to share that. I do prepare my to-do list keeping in mind my deadlines that are coming up. I'm very grateful that I have my own home office, but in previous places that I've lived, I didn't have a home office. But every time I would work from home, I did have a designated place for myself to work. Or even when I was still in college, I had a designated place to study. Again, it's your mindset, at least for me. It gives me structure, and so it helps me focus a little bit better. At the apartment, whenever we were waiting for this house to be built, I would work at my coffee table because that's all I had. Also, things that really help me out, maybe your work can provide this, or if they for some reason don't provide it, which I really think that they should, especially in this climate right now. I have my work laptop, they provide that for me. I have an extra mouse so that I don't have to use just the trackpad of my laptop because ain't nobody got time for that. Headset, this is what I use when I'm taking phone calls because our calls are through Microsoft Teams. It does limit the amount of sound that people can hear in the background. Also, you can mute yourself. If you're typing and you're just using the speaker or microphone on your laptop, people can hear you typing. That's kind of distracting too. So that's why I really like these. These ones are by Jabra. I'll link them in the description box below. I know they have it on Amazon. I've shared it before in other work from home videos. I'm very grateful my work did provide this to me. But something similar like this, I definitely would recommend using that. But I love that this is wireless too. It's Bluetooth. My work did provide me with a external monitor. I did have to request it obviously, but I knew that I would be working from home for a couple of weeks since I'm doing this audit remotely. I was supposed to be in Poland, but if you watched this video, that's why I'm not there, and that's why I'm doing a remote audit. But you can find a second screen on Amazon pretty cheap, like for a pretty cheap price. If you don't have that, you can use, maybe you have a small TV. I have a travel monitor. It is packed away in a box somewhere, but it's just a smaller monitor that goes on your desk, and I find myself more productive when I have a bigger screen to look at big Excel files and things of that nature. And it would probably be nice to also have a separate keyboard, but I don't, and that's okay. I manage with the laptop. Sometimes you'll find that you're writing this really lengthy message because something's unclear and you're going back and forth with someone. Maintain that human contact. Give that person a call so you can talk through something just like you would if you were in the office versus just, you know, messaging with someone, because that can lead to inefficiencies. Maybe your meaning's not coming across, maybe you don't understand what they're saying, and it would be a lot easier to clear up on, you know, a 5, 10, 15-minute phone call, maybe longer. There's going to be a little bit of trial and error here. You're going to have to figure out what can be done via email or instant message and what stuff should be done via call. Do things in a way that is most efficient. Obviously, you don't want to be calling someone every single time you have a question. That may not be the most efficient because maybe they have several people calling them at one time, or maybe they need focus time to do something. And that applies to, you know, all times, not just working from home times. So speaking of having a call, there's going to be a lot more virtual meetings that are being done. So be sure, if you're not very familiar with doing virtual meetings, then be sure to be prepared before those meetings. I can go into more detail, but just a couple things I wanted to touch on in this video. So be sure to put together kind of an agenda. It doesn't have to be something major. You don't have to put it in PowerPoint. Maybe just in the meeting invitation, have, you know, the bullet points of what, you know, say what the purpose of this meeting is. We're going to go over this, this, and this thing, an idea of what to prepare for that meeting. And then secondly, in the event that you end up needing to share your screen, news articles or whatever, close out of those browsers, close out of anything that you won't need necessarily for that meeting. I'll pull up the specific documents that I think I may need and have them open already so that I don't have to, like, you know, go into each folder as I'm, you know, on the call with people and open up things. You should be using VPN when you're working from home just to have a secure network. Sometimes, you know, depending on your internet and where you're at, VPN can get kicked off. Having those items open already, it'll at least save you from, you know, being like, oh no, my VPN kicked me off and I can't access something that's on a shared drive where you need your VPN. So those are my tips for being a productive employee working from home. So now I wanted to share some tips for if you're managing people or projects remotely. On the external audit side, we didn't really work from home too often because the nature of what we did was to be on site with the client. If you're a manager or a senior of an engagement team, this is the time where maybe you don't have the most trust in every single person on your team to work independently without someone monitoring them. Set routine touch points. You will have to gauge what's best for that specific person and your specific team. You guys could have a team meeting twice a week, maybe more frequently if needed, especially if you're right up against a deadline. Set aside time every single day for each of the staff on your engagement. Maybe they need help to get through something. It's just really going to depend on, you know, who you're working with and your level of trust in that person. Set clear expectations at the forefront. If you haven't already, do it ASAP and be very clear about it. Be very transparent about the expectations that you have. Hours expectation, the output expectation. If you want them to reach out to you whenever they have questions, the communication cadence. Another thing that may be helpful is maybe having a tracker to be able to see your team members' progress. Projects that I work on, our tracker is done on a weekly, maybe twice a week basis. But, you know, for those of you guys who maybe don't work from home very often and don't have a level of trust with the people who are working from home, maybe having a daily tracker would be beneficial. That way you can see, you know, the productivity of each of your team members. Maybe that'll increase the frequency of when you touch base with someone. Maybe it reduces the frequency if, you know, you start to build that trust with that person. They had this open Tuesday, there's not much, you know, change there. Then you can actually help them out and troubleshoot versus getting behind. Especially if you're not used to being remote from your team, or your team is not used to being remote, then having that consistent communication is so important. Not only to continue to have some human interaction with someone, but to help people stay focused and help people know that, you know, they are going to be held accountable, that this is not vacation, it's still working from home. So typically I'll use Excel as my tracker. I know there are different apps and whatnot that you can use. Excel for me, tried and true, and I'm good with that. And maybe one day it'll get more sophisticated. My basic tracker looks like this. I have these different tasks that need to get completed for a specific project, having those listed down, having who it's assigned to, what's the status, is it not started, in progress, is it complete, has it been reviewed? You can do a percentage of completion. Sometimes it's easy if you have like 10 samples and you've done 2, obviously you're 20% complete, but if it's not something easily quantifiable, there's going to be some judgment there. Having any, open items, are they waiting for something from someone else? If there are any concerns, questions. I know that it's an extra step of administration to be done and may seem like a waste of time per se, especially during these times, and especially if you are in the middle of a deadline and your world has been turned upside down as many other people have been. Constant communication and staying on top of your deadlines and keeping each other accountable, I think that's very important. Doing it as a team effort, and especially right now, I think that we all need to help one another. It's not the time to take out your frustrations on someone. Like, this is the time, if you're a manager, if you're a senior, to really take the time to step up and give clear guidance and leadership. I'm gonna have this tracker linked down below. I started a page on my blog just to keep track of all of the different little templates that I have out there throughout several videos, so I hope you guys will find that helpful there. And just as a little piece of advice, if your area does still allow for food deliveries from small local businesses or local restaurants, please consider shopping local, shopping small, and then also maybe giving a little extra tip if you can, if you're able to financially. Right now is a time for all of us to really help each other. So those are my tips on how to be productive while working from home and how to effectively manage when you're working remotely. So I hope this video was helpful. I would love to hear, and I'm sure others would also love to hear, any other tips that you have for working from home, that we all band together and get through these just really uncertain and strange and scary times. I hope something positive comes out of this, whether it's implementing work from home more regularly once things go back to normal. Thank you all so much for watching this video. If it was helpful, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up. I would greatly appreciate it. Don't forget to be a part of our Stephie fam, because we would love to have you, and there will be more videos coming out because I am here at home. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay positive, and I will talk to y'all in my next video. And if you're in the middle of okay, so let's jump into the TMI, okay? Nope, I'm not, okay. All right, all right, yeah. And if you're anything like me, where you feel like you don't want to boss people around, even though you kind of have to if you're managing a project. And I think, so another thing that I like to do, with any of my projects, there's kids running around outside. At least they're 6 feet away from each other, that's good. I would greatly, but so those I was gonna pick Juicy up so that you guys could see her, but she is comfortably resting in her little bed in my office, so I'm not gonna disturb her. So I am grateful that I'm home to be here for her. I will show you a little clip of her so that you can see my sweet Jujubee.